I'm Kelly Mitchell, the Wine Siren. I am here today at Champagne Gosset in Champagne, France with Odilon de Varin.
Good.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, no blooper reel this time. And we have had such an amazing experience at Champagne Gosset. Odilon is actually the winemaker here, and he is cranking out some amazing juice, amazing blends, and amazing vintage and non-vintage champagnes. So you were telling us a little bit about the creation process. And I know you're doing the method traditional, correct?
That's it, yes.
Okay, and we're going to talk for a moment about malolactic fermentation because so many people use that in the process of champagne, but you do not.
No.
And this is a unique aspect to Champagne Gosset.
That's quite unique. It's an old way of making champagne. It lasts for more than 4 centuries at Gosset. Not going through the malolactic, to keep the freshness, to keep the acidity, the fruitiness of the wine, to keep the malic acid, which is the acid from the fruitiness and the freshness and the creepiness.
And when we're talking about the acidity, this is a point I like to drive home with people because they don't always remember how important the acidity is. What does the acidity do to our palates, especially when we're blending it with food?
Well, I would say the acidity, and especially acidity with bubbles, is a palate cleaner. And it's wonderful as an aperitif because it's really, it cleans the palate. And even on a meal, even after another wine, even if it's a red wine, you can clean the palate with champagne, with high acidity wines, especially with bubbles.
Ah, and have you ever paired? Now, this may be a strange pairing in champagne, but I've had some magnificent pairings with champagne and fried chicken. Why does that work?
I think everything is working with champagne, or everything is pairing with champagne. You just have to find the right champagne.
Ah.
And that's why we've got so huge range in champagne, coming from non-vintage to passing by rosé, vintages, special cuvées. That's the way to have the right pairing for each meal, each time, each moment, each people you are drinking with.
Excellent, excellent. Now you've got a wide range of champagnes, and we went over with Jean-Pierre a little bit about the different colors and how they align with the different champagnes that you're putting out. What are some of your favorite champagnes that you're producing? It's almost like kids, right?
Yes.
Favorites.
What kid do you prefer? It's a tough question. I don't know. It depends on the moment, and it depends on the people I'm with. Today, like this sunny day, we prefer more fresh wine, like a Blanc de Blanc, like a Grand Reserve, more than an old vintage, because old vintages are more round, more, I would say, autumn wines or evening wines.
Okay. Higher alcohol, possibly?
No,
same
it's
alcohol.
the same level.
Okay.
The same level, but just the taste.
Ah, so a little heavier.
And not pairing on the same thing. Blanc de Blanc, Grand Reserve, Rosé, you can pair it with seafoods, with things like that, which is not the case with an old vintage. It would be better on a veal or a roast chicken or things like that.
Absolutely. From your perspective on winemaking, what do you see, the company has been doing this for 400 or 500 years, right?
A bit less.
A bit less.
440.
440 years. Do you think that you ever have to change the processes or?
Well, I don't remember exactly the process at the beginning.
At the 400 years ago? Unless you're a vampire, it would be difficult to have that kind of recall.
I think because we are the oldest wine in Champagne, we have to be the more young.
Yes.
In the product and on the way of thinking.
Okay.
For me, it's the key for the duration of the brand, and we have to be the youngest in the wine approach.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit because about the perspective of approachability of Champagne Gosset. You have these other brands out there that have, these very big names, maybe they're conglomerates and things like that, and maybe they haven't seen Champagne Gosset as much. I think, from my perspective, and having tried it now, this is my second time in the last a year, that the approachability is phenomenal, and I think we get stuck in ruts sometimes with names that we've heard of, or we saw a cool commercial or something like that.
Well, why? You asked me why.
Yeah.
I think it's because we don't have the coverage to be everywhere in France, in US, in UK, Asia, and because the house is too tiny to do that. So we don't have the possibility to be everywhere.
And you don't want to be, right?
And we don't want to be.
Yes.
We don't want to have the pleasure to drink wines with our customer, and the customers have pleasure to drink our wines.
Where does the quality get lost in mass production? Because you're one of the smaller houses, right?
Yeah.
However, you have a very hands-on approach and a rather long time to age, which is good.
That's our way of thinking wine.
Yeah.
We are making wine before bubbles. We don't want to make the wine to make the bubbles. We make wine and the bubble add the wine. That's a different way of thinking.
Okay.
Our goal is not the bubbles. The bubbles came to help the wines to express itself. That's another way of thinking champagne.
Excellent. So the goal is the taste and the quality, and with that process that you've employed, the bubbles automatically come when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
I love that.
And helps the wine to express itself.
Excellent. I'm kind of like looking for what you do in a day as a winemaker.
What I'm doing every day?
Yeah, what do you do?
Well, I'm tasting every day.
Okay.
About 2 or 3 hours a day. Wines coming from the tanks before the secondary fermentation to make the blends. That's what we do at the moment. And we have to follow all the cuvées we have in the cellars, and we have many cuvées, so we have to taste the cuvées quite often to make the dosage, to see what would be the next one, to see how they are aging on the cellars. So yes, we are tasting quite every day. And what else during the day? Having all the production team to manage.
Got it.
So bottling, labeling, disgorging, and so on, and sometimes some commercial ways and traveling and
wine dinners and that sort of thing.
Wine dinners sometimes.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you had a vintage that you were going to release. And you determined it wasn't ready, and you literally pulled everything back.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary, right? Because you have all these wheels in motion.
It was 2 or 3 years ago. We wanted to launch a vintage, and at the very last time, the labeling, the labels were done, everything was right, and we tasted it just before the release, and we decided not to launch it.
Wasn't ready.
Because we had a doubt. Doesn't fit like we wanted it to be. And at the very last time we decided not to launch it.
And so it's a quality control thing, so you're not just pushing product out there to sell product.
No, because that was a rosé, and we stayed nearly a year without a rosé because we didn't launch this cuvée. It was a real choice, important choice for the company.
And so tell me a little bit about that, because when you withhold that, it costs money, right? But also if you push it out, it costs you reputation, and you folks have an amazing name in the champagne business.
That's why we've got a great name for more than 4 centuries. So we don't We don't do things that we doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
And especially on the reputation.
Is there a particular vintage or a particular blend that you absolutely love?
As I told you, it depends on the moment I will drink it. And we make wines for different moments. I think we have to reflect about the moment, the people we are drinking with, and I'm not taking the same cuvée on the same wine because of that, because of the people, because of the time, because of the weather outside, because of many things.
Absolutely.
Or your mood.
Yes, definitely. When people think of Champagne, what do you hope that they think about? Whether they're thinking about it as a region or a drink?
I'd love to think about a region, about the terroir, because it's a real terroir. Champagne is a great wine coming from chalk with the vines, with the roots on the chalk. It's for me very important. But I hope people drinking champagne think about sharing. That's my most important thing. It's sharing champagne. Champagne has to be shared.
Absolutely. And then I have one last question, and this is something that I noticed today. This is my first day in the region, and I'm curious.
So you have to come back more often.
I do, absolutely. I think I do.
It's known that the oldest vines give the best wine. So the more age you have, the best wine you will
Excellent.
pick.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining
My
us
pleasure.
today. You're amazing, and so is your champagne.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, and so see you in Champagne more often.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Champagne Gosset.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap. We'll check you later. And from Champagne and Champagne Gosset, we say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.